All right, today we're diving into sustainable living with a beginner's guide on how to actually get started. One simple step at a time. You know that feeling when people talk about going green and it just feels overwhelming? Like it's this huge mountain you're supposed to climb. It's so easy to feel like you're not doing enough or that the small things you try don't even make a difference. Well, here's the good news. This is not a test. Seriously. Sustainable living is a journey, and it's made up of a bunch of small, individual steps. The whole point is finding what works for you, not trying to hit some impossible standard of eco-perfection overnight. That's just not realistic. So before we jump into all the what-to-dos, we really have to talk about the why. Because honestly, the most powerful and lasting changes, they all start with just a little shift in how we think about things. So what does sustainable living even mean? Really, at its core, it's just about being a little more mindful. It's a lifestyle where you consciously try to reduce your personal use of the Earth's resources and your overall impact. That's it. Simple as that. No capes or superpowers needed, I promise. And if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this phrase: progress, not perfection. Trying to be perfect is just paralyzing. It stops you before you even start. The real goal is just to be a tiny bit better today than you were yesterday. So what does that look like in the real world? Well, it means consuming consciously. Just taking a second before you buy something and asking, do I really need this? It also means valuing the stuff you already have. And, this is crucial, it's all about aiming for those small, consistent changes, the kinds you can actually stick with. Because that's where the real impact comes from consistency. Okay, with that mindset in place, let's get practical. Let's talk about your foundational toolkit. I'm sure you remember the 3 R's from school, right? Well, we're going to revisit them, but we're going to look at them with a completely new sense of priority. And here they are: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now, that specific order is everything. It is so important because these 3 are not created equal. Think of it more like a hierarchy. And reduce is at the very top for a reason. It is, by far, the most powerful and impactful R of them all. I mean, think about it. The greenest, most sustainable product is the one you never buy in the first place. When you just consume less, you stop waste before it even has a chance to exist. Okay, next on the list is reuse, and this one is all about fighting back against that throwaway culture we live in. Before you toss something, just pause and ask, hey, can this be fixed? Can I use it for something else? Could somebody else get some use out of this? It's all about stretching an item's life for as long as humanly possible. And this is where you can get some really easy wins. We're not talking about huge, life-altering sacrifices here. These are simple habit shifts that add up to something massive. That one reusable grocery bag you start using, it can replace over 100 plastic bags in just 1 year. The goal is to make the sustainable choice your new normal, your default. And that brings us to the last R. Our final line of defense: recycle. Now, don't get me wrong, recycling is absolutely vital, but we have to remember it's a big industrial process. It uses a ton of energy and a ton of water. And the sad truth is, a lot of what we hopefully put in the recycling bin ends up in the landfill anyway. And that's exactly why it's so important, but it's our last resort, not our first. All right, let's take that foundation and apply it to something we all do pretty much every day: shopping. This is where you can put all of this into practice and make conscious choices. And you can see here how it all clicks into place. You're just swapping out an easy disposable habit for a simple, sustainable one. The big idea is to build your own little sustainability kit: your travel mug, your tote bags, your water bottle. Pretty soon, grabbing them becomes just as automatic as grabbing your phone and keys before you leave the house. So let's add a few more things to that mental checklist. Buying in bulk? Great way to reduce packaging, and hey, it usually saves you money too. Choosing local and seasonal food? That cuts down on what they call food miles, that giant carbon footprint from shipping produce across the globe. And looking for secondhand stuff first, especially for clothes, that's a huge one. Get this, it can take over 2,000 gallons of water to make one single new cotton t-shirt. Buying used just completely sidesteps the whole process. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Your journey really does begin right now with the very next choice you make. And please remember this: every single small step you take genuinely matters. And if you're ever thinking, does my one little change even do anything? Just look at this number: 23 pounds. That's the amount of plastic waste one person can keep out of the landfill in a year just by switching from disposable coffee cups to a reusable one. That is some serious impact. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Please, please, don't finish this feeling like you now have to do everything perfectly, all at once. That is absolutely not the goal. The goal is just to do something. Just pick one thing we talked about today, whatever seems easiest or most achievable for you, and just start there. Get good at it, make it a habit. Then, and only then, when you're ready, you can add another. Because that is what really matters. So the only question left is, what's your first step going to be?